Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. We've got a new day, which of course means a new MLB player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have two MLB player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. Kind of a shorter slate today, so just two picks to hand out in today's video. But first, as always, guys, please, like I mentioned already at the top of the video, hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. We have tons of great content here on the channel, and especially over the next several weeks, we're going to have plenty of awesome stuff with football season starting, college football videos, NFL videos. Trey is still killing it with his WNBA picks. Ev always killing it with his MLB picks. And as always, guys, the plays on this channel are always free. We don't charge for picks. We give out plays free daily here at Guy Boston Sports. So if you aren't subscribed yet, again, please hit that subscribe button down below. With no more time to waste, let's dive right into today's MLB picks. Jumping right into the outlier screen, guys, our first of two player props in today's MLB slate comes from the Cubs-Blue Jays game, 3:07 p.m. first pitch. We've got Bo Bichette of the Toronto Blue Jays over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Now, we're grabbing this personally from -135 over on DraftKings. But like always, guys, we have a lot of different sportsbooks available for this player prop for varying odds. And make sure to go ahead and shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. It's very important, especially when talking about the value of the individual player prop. For example, Sleeper has it for -164, but again, on DraftKings, you can get it for -135. So you got to find the value there. It may not sound like a lot, but if you're betting, hundreds of dollars here, that's, that could be $30, $40, $50 of value you're missing out on if you don't be careful about looking at the odds. So again, make sure to shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. And the data is pretty solid across the board here. 8 of his last 10 games, Bo Bichette has cashed this over, averaging 3.5 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 10 games. Now that average is slightly skewed, in great thanks to that series against the Rockies. He had 11 hits, runs, RBIs back on August 4th, and then 8 hits, runs, RBIs on August 6th. So that Colorado series did him many, many good things for his numbers. But even looking beyond the Rockies series, he's had a pretty good run. Even if we go ahead and stretch the data out to the last 20 games, he's on a phenomenal run right now. 17 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the over. That's an 85% hit rate, averaging 3.4 hits, runs, RBIs per game across his last 20 games. So very, very solid run for Bo Bichette. And he's been consistently solid all season long when looking at the 2025 numbers. A 64% hit rate on the over, averaging 2.45 hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. So phenomenal season in general for Bo Bichette. From a head-to-head perspective, very small sample size. We just have this series thus far against Chicago to go off of. They played 2 games thus far. On August 12th, he had 1 hit and 1 run, so he did cash the over. And then yesterday, he failed to cash the over with no hits, no runs, and no RBI. So 50-50 this year, but again, we only have a 2-game sample size, so not a ton to go off of in terms of head-to-head performance. And then look at the insights provided by Outlier. Just kind of reiterating what I just talked about, his recent run he's been on. Bo Bichette has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 16 of his last 19 games, averaging about 3.4 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 19 games, and that being an 84% hit rate. So again, he's been on a very solid run over the last month and a half. And looking down below at the individual matchup data for Bo Bichette versus Matthew Boyd, the pitcher for the Chicago Cubs tonight, it's not the best numbers of all time, but it's certainly not bad. Now, from an individual standpoint, we have a small sample size to go off of, but Bo Bichette does have 2 plate appearances against Matthew Boyd since 2018, and in both of those plate appearances, he's gotten a hit, including a home run in one of those 2 plate appearances. So I always say 2 plate appearances in his entire basically career versus Matthew Boyd. There's really not much to go off of there, but he has had some success in the limited sample size that we do have. Bichette, again, having a solid year, 296 batting average, 123 WRC plus. Versus left-handed pitchers, you do see those numbers drop from an overall perspective. However, over the last 30 days, Bo Bichette is hitting over 300 against left-handed pitchers. So he's hitting very well overall this year, but especially over the last month against left-handed pitchers and honestly all pitchers in general. And looking at Matthew Boyd's numbers, again, it's not the best matchup of all time, but his numbers do increase when facing off with right-handed batters like Bo Bichette. ERA, batting average allowed, home runs per 9, WOBA, they all increase there. And again, you do have the individual head-to-head numbers. He has given up some hits in the past to Bichette. And then looking down below here at Matthew Boyd's pitch arsenal and what Bo Bichette's numbers look like against those individual pitch types, I can tell you here right now the numbers are very solid here. Matthew Boyd heavily utilizes the fastball. 45.5% of his pitches are fastballs. Now Bo Bichette overall, taking all pitches into account, has a 346 WOBA on the year. Versus the fastball, you do see a nice increase there to 362. So not a massive increase, but obviously he's overperforming his average when facing off with a fastball. That's obviously very good. Moving on to the changeup, which utilizes 23.4% of Matthew Boyd's pitch arsenal, 402 WOBA, so a nice solid increase from his average number there. The third most utilized pitch, the slider, 15.6%. That's about average. It's slightly above average at 347 WOBA, but again, right around his number there. Curveball, 364, and the sinker, 381. So literally every pitch that Matthew Boyd utilizes in his arsenal, Bo Bichette is above average hitting in terms of his WOBA against those pitches. So seems to be like a pretty solid matchup. He's had success against them in the past. Again, not the greatest match of all time, though. You'd like those numbers on Matthew Boyd's side to be a little higher, but at least you do see that he does struggle more often with right-handed batters than left-handed batters. So overall, for minus 135, pretty valuable player prop to kick off today's video. And our second player prop in today's video comes from the Tigers-Twins game, 7:40 p.m. first pitch. We got Colt Keith of the Detroit Tigers over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, which I'm grabbing for minus 150 over on DraftKings. Again, make sure to shop around for that value from the individual sports books. And if you guys are still watching today's video at this point, we just passed the 7-minute mark, so please go ahead and comment 7 down below. As always, guys, we appreciate those who watch through each and every single video here on the channel. It really does mean the world to us when you do go ahead and watch through and don't just drive to the comments or the description for the picks. So really do appreciate you guys who do stick around and watch through me ramble on for minutes and minutes and minutes. And also one more thing before we finish off with this pick, shout out to Outlier, the sponsor of today's video, and all of my player prop videos here on the channel. We do offer a very special link down below in the description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial to go ahead and check it out for yourself. Everything you've seen in this video thus far is from Outlier directly, and I'm only giving you guys a little taste of what Outlier provides. So make sure to go ahead and check it out for yourself. So many great insights and tools and information that Outlier provides that makes you a smarter bettor, but more importantly, a better sports bettor. So go ahead and check that out. Link down below in the description. 7-day free trial. All right, Colt Keith over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. He's cashed the over in 7 of his last 10 games, averaging 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 10 games. Look at the overall 2025 numbers. Not as impressive as the Bo Bichette prop, but still pretty solid overall. 53% hit rate on the season, averaging 1.85 hits, runs, RBIs per game this year. Now, from a head-to-head perspective, we have a lot more data to go off of here than the previous player prop. These two teams obviously being division rivals, a lot more meetings. So, Colt Keith has faced off with the Twins 21 times since last season. In those 21 meetings, he's cashed the over in 12 of those games. That is a 57% hit rate across those last 21 matchups with Minnesota, averaging 1.9 hits, runs, RBIs per game over those last 21 matchups. But if we go ahead and narrow that head-to-head data down, you see he's on a pretty impressive run right now versus the Twins. 6 consecutive games against Minnesota, all 6, by the way, coming from this season. He's cashed the over in all 6 games. He's got at least 2 hits, runs, RBIs in each of the last 6 matchups. Versus Minnesota, it's obviously very, very good. And again, really narrowing it down, 11 of his last 14 matchups against the Minnesota Twins dating back to last year. So from this part here, from July 3rd of last year, all the way through now, that's 14 matchups right there. He's cashed the over in 11 out of 14 matchups of his last 14 matchups, I should say, against Minnesota. So on a very good run against the Twins. And he's played them 9 times so far this season. He's cashed the over in 7 of those 9 matchups with Minnesota this year. So having a phenomenal run against his division rival. That to me is maybe the best data point of this player prop. We also have the insights provided by Outlier, which again kind of reiterates what we just talked about. Colt Keith has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 7 of his last 9 games overall. This is not head-to-head. This is just in general. His last 9 games, he cashed the over at a 78% hit rate, averaging 2.78 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 9 games. Looking down below at the key matchup stats, Colt Keith versus Bailey Ober. 14 plate appearances since 2018, so a much better sample size here. He's batting .308 with a .286 OBP, so pretty solid numbers individually versus Bailey Ober, including a home run in there. So pretty good individual head-to-head data. You do see Colt Keith overall this season having a solid year. Versus right-handed pitchers, you do see some more success. The batting average increases. The WRC plus increases. Now, I will say, over the last 30 days, the numbers have not been as impressive versus right-handed pitchers. He's hitting about .260 over the last month, which is about where his overall average is. So, although from an overall perspective, from the entire 2025 season, he's hitting well off of right-handed pitchers, over the last month, it's been good, not great. But what helps us here is the fact that Bailey Ober, those numbers are really good in our favor. ERA, batting average allowed, home runs per 9, WOBA, they're all on the higher side. And although you do see some red numbers there, look at 284 versus 283. They're practically the same thing. Bailey Ober struggles versus left-handed batters and right-handed batters, non-biased in terms of who he sucks against. So that's good for us. And lastly, taking a look at Colt Keith versus Bailey Ober's pitch arsenals. Colt Keith overall, 335 WOBA on the year. Bailey Ober, again, heavily utilized the fastball. 37.9% of his pitches this year have been fastballs. You see Colt Keith, 375 WOBA, which is a nice solid increase from his overall average. Now, in terms of the changeup and the slider, the second and third most utilized pitches, you do see some decreases from his overall average. Okay, the changeup, you see 323 WOBA, slider, 317 WOBA. The reason why I'm not too concerned about that is they're both over 300. Yes, they are decreases from his overall mark of 335, but they're not too far below. Okay, and honestly, any player batting with a WOBA over 300, that's usually pretty solid. So yes, they are decreases, but it's not too far enough of a decrease. It's not like his WOBA went from 335 to 241. At that point, I'd probably say, whoa, let's be cautious here. But they're still pretty solid numbers. And then after that, I mean, the curveball and sinker make up a grand total of about 8% of his pitch arsenal. And that's where you see the big drop, right? Curveball, 208 WOBA. That's the big drop. Only 4.3% of his pitches are curveballs, though. So not really utilizing that. He way more utilized these first 3, in which Colt Keith has a WOBA of over 300 and against all 3 of those. So pretty solid player prop overall to close out today's video. Thank you very much, guys, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I will be back tomorrow with our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay. Until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Thursday. Let's go ahead and make some money.